Let life flow and everything will start to go well. Buddhist teaching. There comes a moment in life when we realize that our constant effort to control everything, people, situations, outcomes, only leads us to exhaustion. We fight against the current, we cling to plans, and we become frustrated when reality does not follow our script. Buddhism teaches that the art of living well is not in controlling life, but in letting it flow. When we let go of resistance and begin to trust the natural rhythm of existence, we find peace, clarity, and a surprising harmony that allows things to align effortlessly. The flow of life is not something outside of us, it is our true nature. By understanding this, we stop being victims of circumstances and become participants in a dance that is already perfect in its imperfection. Letting life flow does not mean being passive or careless. It means acting from a state of inner calm, where your actions are not reactions, but expressions of awareness. It means walking with faith, not in the sense of blind belief, but in deep trust in the intelligence of life. When you live this way, even challenges become teachers, and silence becomes your greatest ally. In this journey, the Buddhist path offers profound insights on how to align your energy with the rhythm of existence so that everything begins to go well, not by magic, but by harmony. Let us begin by exploring the first great lesson of this teaching, the power of surrendering to the present moment. The power of surrender, trusting the flow of the present moment. Most people live as if they are constantly rowing upstream, struggling against the natural current of life. We believe that through effort and control, we can shape everything exactly as we wish, but Buddhism reveals that this constant tension is the very cause of suffering. The Buddha called it dukkha, the friction that arises when the mind resists what is. To let life flow means to stop fighting with the moment and to start living within it. Surrender, in the Buddhist sense, is not about giving up or becoming indifferent. It is a conscious act of aligning your energy with what already is. When you surrender to the present, you accept reality as your teacher. You recognize that whatever is happening now is not an obstacle to your path. It is your path. The problem is not life itself. It is our resistance to it. We want the weather to change, people to behave differently, the timing to be perfect. But all this wanting creates inner storms that keep us restless and blind to the beauty of what already exists. To trust the flow of life, you must understand impermanence. Everything changes: joy, pain, gain, loss, success, failure. Like waves on the ocean, experiences rise and fall. When you cling to them, you suffer. When you allow them to pass, you remain at peace. Meditation trains the mind for this. When you sit and observe your thoughts without judgment, you realize that they too come and go. You learn to stop identifying with them. This is the essence of surrender, to see that life flows naturally when you stop grasping. Many people fear surrender because they associate it with losing control. But in truth, you were never in control to begin with. Life has always been unfolding beyond your plans and expectations. The act of surrender reveals that freedom does not come from control. It comes from trust. When you begin to trust life, you begin to trust yourself, because you are part of life's unfolding. You realize that the same intelligence that makes flowers bloom and stars shine also guides your path. You are not separate from it. Imagine a river. When you resist its current, you tire yourself. When you float, the same current carries you effortlessly forward. That is the way of the wise. Letting life flow means allowing the current of existence to carry you where you are meant to be, even if it's not where you thought you should go. The mind fears uncertainty, but the heart knows it is in the unknown where miracles occur. Every time you release a burden, an expectation, a fear, a plan, you make space for life to surprise you with something greater than you imagined. Buddhist philosophy reminds us that the root of peace lies in non-attachment. The more you cling to how things should be, the less you can see how things truly are. Non-attachment is not detachment. It is intimacy without control. It's the ability to love without possessing, to act without expecting, to give without demanding. When you learn to live this way, life responds in kind. You begin to notice synchronicities, doors opening effortlessly, people appearing at the right time. These are not coincidences. They are signs that you are flowing with life instead of against it. To truly let life flow, you must stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin asking, "What is this trying to teach me?" This shift transforms every situation into a lesson. You stop being a victim and become a student of existence. Even pain becomes sacred when you see it as a message calling you back to awareness. The rain may come, but you learn to dance with it. The wind may blow, but you move with its rhythm. The more you trust, the lighter your steps become. In Buddhist practice, this trust is cultivated through mindfulness, being fully present without resistance. When you eat, just eat. When you walk, just walk. When you breathe, just breathe. This simplicity dissolves the illusion of control and reconnects you with the pulse of the universe. Every moment becomes sacred because it is real. You realize that the present moment is not something to endure until something better happens. It is life itself happening now. Surrender, therefore, is not weakness. It is the highest form of strength. It is the courage to say yes to the flow of existence, even when you don't understand it. It is the wisdom to see that the universe is not against you. It is constantly guiding you toward your growth. Every delay, every detour, every loss is part of that guidance. When you accept this, peace becomes your natural state, and from that peace, everything in your life begins to align. So when life feels heavy, pause and ask yourself, what am I resisting right now? Then breathe, soften, and allow things to be as they are. In that moment of release, you will feel something shift inside, a lightness, a quiet joy, a sense that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. That is the essence of letting life flow. If you found resonance in these words and wish to keep walking this path of awareness, remember to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next teachings on how to live with presence, peace, and wisdom. To let life flow requires the deepest transformation of all, the transformation of how you relate to your own mind. Everything you experience, whether it appears joyful or painful, is filtered through the lens of your perception. And perception is not neutral. It is shaped by habits, fears, memories, and attachments that act like clouds covering the clear sky of awareness. In Buddhist teachings, this sky is your true nature, vast, silent, untouched. But most people live trapped within the clouds, believing they are the storm. The art of letting life flow begins when you realize you are the sky itself, the vast awareness in which everything arises and passes away. The Buddha taught that the source of all suffering lies in craving and aversion, wanting things to be different than they are. When you crave something, you chase it endlessly. When you fear something, you push it away with equal force. Both reactions bind you to the wheel of dissatisfaction. It is like grasping at water. The tighter you squeeze, the less you hold. Letting life flow means loosening this grip and resting in the natural movement of existence. It means accepting that life is neither friend nor enemy. It simply is. And within that simplicity lies freedom. But to reach this state of acceptance, you must first observe the turbulence within. Every time something happens that you did not expect, notice how the mind reacts. It immediately labels good, bad, success, failure, gain, loss. It creates a story, a judgment, a resistance. That resistance is the seed of suffering. The more you fight what is, the more power you give it over you. But when you stop fighting, something miraculous happens. The event loses its weight. It becomes just what it is, no more, no less. That is when you begin to flow. This is why mindfulness is not just a practice. It is a way of seeing. It teaches you to witness without grasping. When you practice being fully present, you realize that most of your pain does not come from the situation itself, but from your mental commentary about it. You are rarely angry because of what happened. You are angry because your mind says it shouldn't have happened. You are rarely anxious about the present. You are anxious because your mind imagines a future that doesn't exist. The river of life flows naturally, but your mind keeps throwing stones of fear and expectation into it. No wonder the waters seem turbulent. The Buddhist masters often used the metaphor of the mirror to describe awareness. The mirror does not judge what it reflects. Whether it shows a flower or a corpse, it remains clear and unchanged. When your mind becomes like that mirror, open, still, without preference, you begin to live in alignment with the Tao, the Dharma, the flow. You realize that every experience, no matter how painful, is simply a reflection passing through the mirror of consciousness. You don't need to cling to it or reject it. You only need to see it clearly. And in that seeing, peace arises on its own. True surrender is not intellectual. It is experiential. You cannot think your way into the flow. You must feel it, breathe it, and live it, moment by moment. Imagine standing in the ocean. The waves come and go. You cannot stop them, but you can learn to move with them. Some waves will lift you, others will pull you down, but if you remain relaxed, you will always return to the surface. The problem arises when you panic, when you fight the water, when you tense up. Then the same ocean that could carry you becomes the force that drowns you. Life works the same way. It is not your circumstances that exhaust you. It is your resistance to them. To let life flow, you must cultivate faith, not blind belief, but inner trust in the unfolding of existence. When you truly trust, you stop demanding answers from life. You no longer need to know why things happen. You begin to see that even your confusion, even your setbacks, are part of a higher intelligence that you may not yet understand. It's like looking at a tapestry from the back. You only see the tangled threads. But when you turn it around, you realize those same threads formed a masterpiece. The mind sees chaos, awareness sees order. Meditation is the bridge between the two. Through meditation, you slow down enough to perceive the subtle movements of your mind. You see a thought arising, reaching its peak and fading away. You see emotions like waves, strong but impermanent. You see desires and fears lose their power simply because you are no longer feeding them. With time, this awareness seeps into daily life. You begin to carry a quiet center within you, even amidst noise and uncertainty. This is the state of equanimity, the ability to remain balanced in the face of all conditions. Buddhist monks often speak of flowing with the river of karma. It means that life brings you exactly what you need for your evolution, not necessarily what you want. Every event, every encounter, every delay is a mirror reflecting something within you that needs to be seen or released. When you resist, you postpone the lesson. When you accept, you integrate it. This is how you grow. Letting life flow is not about escaping your responsibilities. It's about facing them with openness instead of fear. It's about moving through life as a student, not a controller. One of the most profound insights of the Buddhist path is that reality is not fixed. It responds to your state of consciousness. When you are tense, fearful, and desperate, life mirrors that energy back to you in the form of obstacles and confusion. But when you are relaxed, trusting, and present, life mirrors clarity and support. The outer world is a reflection of your inner state. This is why the more you let go, the more things seem to go well. It's not that life changes, it's that your perception does, and perception creates experience. When you let life flow, you begin to live with grace. You stop rushing. You start noticing small miracles, the way sunlight dances on leaves, the kindness in a stranger's smile, the silence between words. These are not trivial moments. They are the very essence of life. The mind seeks extraordinary experiences, but awakening happens in the ordinary. The flower blooms, not because it forces itself to, it simply allows the sun and rain to do their work. In the same way, when you stop forcing and start allowing, your life blooms naturally. However, Allowing does not mean apathy. It does not mean you stop setting intentions or taking action. It means your actions arise from clarity, not compulsion. There is a vast difference between doing something because you are afraid and doing something because it feels aligned. The first comes from the ego, the second from wisdom. When your actions flow from wisdom, they carry the energy of the universe itself. You don't have to push life. Life begins to push you gently in the right direction. You feel supported, guided, and free. To live like this requires humility. You must admit that you don't know. The ego always wants to know. It wants certainty, control, predictability. But life is not meant to be predictable. Its beauty lies in mystery. When you accept not knowing, you open the door to real understanding. You begin to see that uncertainty is not a threat. It's a space of infinite potential. Every moment of confusion carries within it the seed of transformation. The lotus flower, symbol of enlightenment, blooms from the mud. Likewise, your growth arises from the very difficulties you once tried to avoid. In moments of pain, remember this teaching: nothing lasts forever. The wheel of life turns constantly. What feels unbearable today will one day be your wisdom. What feels lost today may return in another form. When you stop clinging, everything finds its rightful place. This is the secret of serenity, to move with the rhythm of life instead of against it. The storm passes not because you fight it, but because you stop feeding it with your fear. You sit quietly, watching the clouds drift away, and eventually the sky clears. Letting life flow also means letting yourself be human. It means allowing emotions to arise without shame, allowing mistakes without judgment. You're not here to be perfect. You are here to awaken. Every emotion, even anger or sadness, is a wave of energy passing through your consciousness. When you let it move freely, it transforms into wisdom. When you repress it, it becomes suffering. So breathe deeply, allow yourself to feel, and let the energy complete its cycle. In this simple act of honesty, healing begins. Many people spend their entire lives waiting for circumstances to change before they allow themselves to be at peace. "I'll relax when things get better," they say. But peace is not something that happens later. It is something you choose now. The conditions for peace are always present, but your mind must stop postponing it. When you let life flow, you realize that peace is not the absence of problems, but the presence of awareness. Problems continue to exist, but they no longer dominate your inner space. You face them with calm, and calmness itself becomes your power. As your awareness deepens, something extraordinary happens. You begin to trust your intuition. The mind analyzes, the heart knows. The more you live in alignment with the present moment, the more your inner guidance becomes clear. You find yourself in the right place at the right time, meeting the right people, making the right choices, without struggle. This is not coincidence. It is the natural rhythm of a life in harmony. The universe is constantly speaking, but only a quiet mind can hear it. To live in flow is to remember that you are part of something vast and intelligent. The same force that moves galaxies moves through you. When you breathe, it is the universe breathing through you. When you love, it is life recognizing itself. Every action becomes sacred when performed with awareness. Washing dishes, walking, listening, these small acts become meditations. You begin to see that spirituality is not separate from daily life. It is hidden within it, waiting to be noticed. That is the essence of the Buddhist path, to awaken in the ordinary. When you live like this, gratitude arises naturally. You stop asking for more and start appreciating what already is. Gratitude is not a practice you force, it is the fragrance of awareness. When you are truly present, even the smallest thing fills you with wonder. You realize that nothing is missing. This realization is abundance. The world may look the same, but your perception transforms it into paradise. The trees seem greener, the air feels lighter, and even silence becomes music. This is the joy of living in flow. There will still be challenges, of course, but you begin to see them differently. You no longer see difficulties as punishment, but as invitations to grow. Every challenge asks the same question: can you remain in peace even now? When you can, you transcend the situation. Life stops being a series of problems to solve and becomes a journey of awareness to deepen. You stop trying to fix the world and instead illuminate it by your presence. This is the power of letting life flow, the power of being at peace with the way things are, and through that peace, transforming them. Remember that letting life flow is not a destination, it is a practice. Some days you will flow easily, other days you will resist. That's okay. Awareness is the key. The moment you notice your resistance, you are already free from it. You can smile and return to the flow. This is how you grow, not by forcing yourself to be calm, but by being honest about your unrest. The river of life does not need your control, it only needs your trust. When you trust, the river takes you home. And as you continue walking this path, remember, the universe is always on your side. It may not give you what you want, but it always gives you what you need for your awakening. Every ending hides a beginning. Every silence carries a message. Every pause is sacred. When you finally stop struggling, life reveals its hidden harmony, a harmony that was always there waiting for you to notice. If these words touched something within you, and you wish to continue exploring the wisdom that helps you live in peace and awareness, remember to subscribe to the channel so you can walk this journey together with us, step by step, into deeper understanding and serenity. There is a subtle truth hidden within all Buddhist teachings. Life never truly works against you. The universe is not a chaos of random events. It is a field of intelligence that mirrors your state of being. The way you experience the world depends entirely on the energy you project into it. If you live in resistance, you attract friction. If you live in flow, you attract harmony. This is not superstition or wishful thinking. It is a reflection of the law of cause and effect, the principle that every inner movement creates an outer consequence. When you begin to understand this, you stop trying to manipulate reality and instead focus on transforming yourself. Because as you transform, the world transforms with you. The ancient masters used to say, when the mind is calm, the universe surrenders. What they meant is that reality responds to consciousness, not effort. When you're anxious, reactive, and filled with tension, your actions are clouded by fear and confusion. You plant seeds of disorder, and those seeds grow into situations that mirror that inner conflict. But when you are at peace, your presence itself becomes magnetic. You begin to move through life with grace. People respond differently, opportunities arise naturally, and what once seemed difficult begins to unfold with unexpected ease. This is the mysterious law of flow. The outer world aligns with the rhythm of your inner world. Most people spend their lives trying to change the outside, jobs, relationships, locations, believing that a new environment will bring peace. But peace cannot be found in the external. It must arise from within. Wherever you go, you take your mind with you. If your mind is in conflict, you will find conflict everywhere. If your mind is at peace, even a noisy place becomes a temple. The Buddha taught that enlightenment is not a destination, but a way of seeing. You could be sitting in traffic or standing in line at a store and still be in perfect flow if your heart is present. Flow is not about what you do, it is about how you are. To let life flow, you must release the illusion of separation. The ego believes it is an isolated entity fighting against an external world. It sees life as a series of obstacles to overcome, people to impress, and goals to conquer. But the truth is that you are not separate from life. You are life itself expressing in human form. The river does not fight against its own current. It simply moves. In the same way, when you stop seeing yourself as separate from the flow of existence, you begin to act as life acts, naturally, effortlessly, harmoniously. Your actions cease to be reactions and become extensions of universal intelligence. The challenge lies in the conditioning of the mind. From childhood, you were taught that success comes from control, that happiness comes from achievement, that safety comes from certainty. You learned to live by striving, by planning, by competing. The more you chased happiness, the more it seemed to escape you. This is because happiness is not something you pursue. It is what remains when you stop running. The moment you stop forcing life to conform to your desires, you rediscover a joy that has always been there, hidden beneath the noise of wanting. This joy is the natural fragrance of the present moment. One of the most profound insights in Buddhism is that everything you seek already exists within you. You seek love because you are love. You seek peace because you are peace. You seek freedom because you are already free, only imprisoned by the belief that you are not. The act of letting life flow is, in truth, an act of remembering. It is remembering that you are not the storm. You are the space in which the storm appears and disappears. That space cannot be disturbed, cannot be broken, cannot be lost. When you rest in that awareness, the waves of life may rise and fall, but you remain unmoved, anchored in stillness. To live in this awareness requires vigilance, because the mind constantly pulls you into illusion. It tells you that something is missing, that you must strive harder, that peace will come later. It tells you that you are not enough, that you need validation, that happiness depends on conditions being perfect. But life never becomes perfect according to the mind. There will always be another problem, another goal, another worry. The mind thrives on movement. Awareness thrives on stillness. The more you identify with your thoughts, the more restless you become. The more you return to the stillness behind them, the more you begin to experience the effortless rhythm of existence. Silence is the doorway to this realization. In silence, the mind loses its power to confuse you. You begin to see thoughts as clouds drifting across the sky of consciousness. They appear, they dissolve, but the sky remains untouched. When you cultivate silence, you stop being the thinker and become the witness. The witness is not concerned with control, it simply observes. And in that observation, a deep peace emerges. A peace that is not dependent on what is happening, but on your capacity to remain aware while it happens. This is the heart of meditation, the discovery that you are the one who sees, not what is seen. When you live from this awareness, life starts to feel lighter. You no longer interpret every event as a personal attack or reward. You see things as movements of energy within a vast whole. The promotion, the rejection, the praise, the criticism, they are all ripples in the same ocean. None of them define you. This detachment brings immense freedom. You can engage fully with life without being consumed by it. You can love deeply without fear of loss. You can strive for goals without being enslaved by outcomes. You can experience pain without drowning in it. This is what it means to live in flow, to participate in the dance of life without forgetting that you are the dancer and the dance itself. In practical terms, living in flow means trusting your timing. Many people suffer because they compare their journey with others. They believe they are late, behind, or left out. But the universe does not make mistakes. Each person's path unfolds according to their readiness. The flower does not envy another flower's bloom. It opens when the sun and the rain align. Your timing is sacred. When you force things, you create tension. When you trust, things unfold with elegance. Patience is not waiting. It is quiet confidence that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. In that patience, you begin to see beauty in every stage of becoming. This trust also transforms your relationship with failure. When you resist failure, you create shame. But when you flow with it, failure becomes your greatest teacher. In Buddhism, failure is not the opposite of success. It is part of the same continuum. Each mistake brings you closer to wisdom, just as each exhalation makes space for the next breath. The person who flows with life does not fear falling, because they know that even the fall is part of the dance. Every ending carries the seed of a new beginning. When you learn to see this, fear loses its grip and courage arises naturally. The mind loves control because it fears uncertainty, but uncertainty is the essence of life. Every day, every breath is uncertain. The one who flows with life does not resist this truth. They celebrate it. They know that uncertainty is not chaos. It is the playground of creation. When you stop demanding guarantees, you begin to experience wonder again. Every sunrise becomes a gift, every encounter a mystery, every silence an invitation. This is how children experience life, fully, innocently, without resistance. The spiritual journey is not about becoming someone new. It is about returning to that state of openness you once had before the world taught you to fear. To flow is also to forgive. You cannot move with life if you are carrying the weight of resentment. Anger is like holding a burning coal, waiting to throw it at someone. It burns you first. The Buddha often spoke of compassion as the highest form of intelligence. Compassion is not pity, it is understanding. It is seeing that everyone acts according to their level of consciousness. When you forgive, you do not condone. You release yourself from the poison of hatred. You allow life to flow through you again. Forgiveness is freedom, and freedom is flow. You cannot walk lightly if your heart is heavy. Gratitude amplifies this flow. When you focus on what is missing, you block life's current. But when you appreciate what you already have, you open the gates for more blessings to enter. Gratitude shifts your vibration from lack to abundance. The universe is not withholding anything from you. It mirrors your energy. If you approach life with gratitude, you align with abundance itself. Every breath becomes a prayer of thanks, and every day a new opportunity to give and receive love. Gratitude turns ordinary moments into sacred experiences. It transforms survival into celebration. There is also a profound humility in flowing with life. It means acknowledging that you are not the doer, you are being done. Your heart beats, your lungs breathe, your cells regenerate, all without your command. The same intelligence that keeps you alive orchestrates the entire cosmos. When you realize this, you no longer feel the need to control everything. You begin to cooperate with life instead of fighting it. You move from ego to surrender, from effort to ease. This is not laziness, it is alignment. When you align with the rhythm of existence, your actions become powerful, precise, and peaceful. Even when life appears chaotic, the one who lives in flow sees a hidden order. They trust that there is meaning even in pain, purpose even in uncertainty. They do not rush to escape discomfort because they know discomfort is a messenger. The more you listen, the more you understand. Pain often points to where you are still holding on. It invites you to release. When you stop labeling experiences as good or bad, you begin to see them as movements of awakening. The storm is not against you, it is cleansing you. The fire is not punishing you, it is refining you. Everything conspires to bring you closer to truth. Stillness is the foundation of this wisdom. It is not about escaping the world, but about being so deeply present that nothing can shake your center. When your mind rests in stillness, decisions become clear, timing feels effortless, and intuition becomes your guide. You stop overthinking because you begin to know directly. The still mind is like a calm lake. It reflects reality perfectly. The agitated mind, filled with waves, distorts everything. When you cultivate stillness through meditation, prayer, or quiet contemplation, life begins to move through you with a rhythm that feels divine. You stop forcing doors open because you realize that what is meant for you will open effortlessly when the time is right. Letting life flow also means letting go of identity. We cling to roles, stories, and labels. I am successful, I am a failure, I am spiritual, I am broken. But these are just mental constructions. The real you is beyond all labels, formless, timeless, pure awareness. When you live from that truth, nothing can truly threaten you. You can play the roles life assigns, parent, friend, teacher, student, without being imprisoned by them. You become like water, shapeless, adaptable, yet powerful enough to wear down stone. That is the beauty of flow. It teaches you to be everything and nothing at once. In the end, flowing with life is an act of love. Love for existence, love for yourself, love for the mysterious intelligence that holds everything together. When you love life as it is, you stop demanding that it be different. You see beauty even in imperfection. You discover that nothing needs to be fixed, only understood. This is liberation. To see clearly, to accept fully, to live freely. You realize that the river of life has always known where it's going. Your task was never to control it, but to trust it. And when you finally do, everything begins to go well. Not because life has changed, but because you have awakened to its perfection. Let this be your reminder. Nothing in your path is accidental. Every challenge, every delay, every joy is part of your awakening. You are exactly where you need to be. Take a deep breath, release your resistance, and let life carry you. Trust the flow, because it has never led you astray. It has only led you back to yourself. If this message spoke to your heart, and you wish to continue walking the path of awareness, wisdom, and peace, remember to subscribe to the channel so you can keep receiving teachings that help you flow with life and awaken the serenity that has always lived within you. There comes a point on the spiritual path when the very effort to improve yourself becomes the final obstacle to peace. You try to meditate perfectly, you try to think positively, you try to heal your past, to attract abundance, to be enlightened, and without noticing, you turn spirituality into another form of control. But Buddhism teaches something radically different. Stop trying so hard. Let go of the desire to fix yourself and simply allow life to reveal its natural balance through you. The greatest peace arises not when you perfect the self, but when you realize there was never anything wrong with you to begin with. The struggle ends when the struggler dissolves. When you let life flow, you discover that the universe has its own timing and intelligence. Everything unfolds according to a rhythm that does not need your interference. Look at nature. The sun rises and sets, the tides move, the seasons change, all without effort. No flower forces itself to bloom. It opens when the moment is right. Human beings are the only ones who resist this natural order. We hurry the process. We fight with the now. We demand answers before the time for answers has come. And because of that, we live in constant tension, missing the profound harmony that is always present beneath our restlessness. The lesson is simple, but difficult for the ego to accept. You cannot force your way to peace. Peace is what remains when the forcing ends. The more you chase happiness, the more you reinforce the belief that you do not have it. The more you seek control, the more you prove to yourself that you are powerless. It is only when you stop chasing that the truth becomes visible. Like muddy water that clears when left undisturbed, your life becomes transparent when you stop stirring it. This stillness is not laziness, it is wisdom. It is the recognition that existence has been guiding you all along, even through your confusion. The modern world teaches the opposite. Do more, be more, prove yourself, compete, win. But this endless striving only deepens your suffering. The more you identify with your achievements, the more fragile your peace becomes, because it depends on conditions that are always changing. You succeed and feel joy, but then fear losing it. You fail and feel worthless. You are trapped between pride and shame, both born of comparison. Buddhism invites you to step out of that cycle entirely. You are not your achievements. You are not your failures. You are not even your story. You are the awareness that witnesses all these movements. And awareness does not compete. It simply is. To live in flow means to stop trying to swim faster than the current. It means to trust that where you are is enough. This trust does not make you passive. It frees your energy from anxiety so that you can act with clarity. When your actions arise from calm rather than fear, they carry immense power. A single action performed from presence is worth 1,000 actions born of panic. You become effective not because you control life, but because you cooperate with it. You respond instead of reacting. You move with life's rhythm, not against it. And life, in turn, supports your every step. To reach this level of trust, you must first confront the voice of doubt within you, the voice that says, "If I let go, everything will fall apart." That voice belongs to the ego, which thrives on control. It cannot imagine a reality in which things unfold perfectly without its interference. But look carefully. Has control ever truly worked? Have you ever managed to plan every detail of life and have it turn out exactly as expected? The more you examine your own history, the more you realize that life's best gifts often came unplanned. The friends who appeared unexpectedly, the opportunities that arose by accident, the lessons you learned through mistakes, none of it was under your control, yet it all shaped you. The truth is, the universe has always been orchestrating your path with a wisdom far greater than your mind could comprehend. This realization begins to soften your anxiety. You start to see that uncertainty is not the enemy. It is the space in which the miracle of life unfolds. You stop needing to know everything. You begin to rest in the unknown, not as a void, but as a living presence. In that surrender, creativity awakens. You find inspiration not by thinking harder, but by being open. Life begins to speak to you through signs, coincidences, and intuitions. The same intelligence that guides the stars starts to guide your choices. And the more you listen, the clearer its voice becomes. Not through words, but through the silent feeling of rightness in your heart. But this trust cannot be forced. It grows slowly, like a tree through experience. You begin by letting go in small ways, by not reacting immediately to frustration, by allowing a delay without complaint, by accepting an outcome you didn't plan. Each time you surrender, you discover that life continues just fine, often even better than before. Gradually, your confidence in the flow deepens. You stop living in resistance and start living in rhythm. This is the point where true transformation begins. Not because life changes, but because your relationship with it changes. What once appeared as chaos now feels like choreography. Still, the mind will not give up easily. It will try to pull you back into the old patterns of worry and control. It will whisper that letting go means losing direction, that surrender means weakness. But in Buddhism, surrender is not defeat. It is awakening. It is the recognition that you are not separate from the totality of existence. The wave does not control the ocean, yet it moves perfectly because it is the ocean. Likewise, when you let life flow, you are not giving up power. You are aligning with infinite power. The effort ends, but effectiveness increases. The anxiety ends, but awareness expands. You begin to live from stillness instead of struggle. There is a beautiful Zen saying, "Sitting quietly doing nothing, spring comes and the grass grows by itself." This captures the essence of flow. When you stop interfering, the natural intelligence of life manifests through you effortlessly. You become a channel for creativity, wisdom, and compassion. Your actions carry the fragrance of serenity. People feel peace in your presence because you are not projecting tension. You no longer need to convince or control anyone. Your being itself becomes a teaching. You embody the truth that peace is not something you achieve. It is something you remember. To live this way requires humility. You must accept that you do not always know what is best for you. The ego demands clarity, but the soul grows in mystery. The path is revealed not all at once, but step by step. Each moment shows you only what you need to know right now. When you trust this process, fear dissolves. You no longer panic when things seem uncertain because you understand that the unseen is not empty. It is alive with potential. Life hides blessings in the dark just as it reveals them in the light. The rain that seems to obscure the view is also what nourishes the roots. The darkness you resist is often the very soil of your awakening. Every human life has seasons. There are times of expansion and joy, and there are times of contraction and silence. To let life flow is to honor both. The mind loves the spring, but fears the winter. Yet without the winter, there would be no renewal. In Buddhist thought, every cycle, birth and death, joy and sorrow, gain and loss, is part of the great dance of impermanence. When you stop clinging to one phase and rejecting another, you experience peace in all seasons. You understand that the cold has its beauty, that endings are beginnings in disguise. You stop begging the flower to stay in bloom and start loving it for the brief miracle it is. This acceptance extends even to pain. The instinct is to resist pain, to escape it, to cover it with distractions. But pain is not the enemy. It is the messenger that tells you where you are holding on. When you feel pain and allow yourself to stay with it, to breathe through it without judgment, it begins to transform. The energy that was trapped in resistance starts to flow again. Suffering is not caused by pain itself, but by the refusal to feel it. When you accept it fully, it loses its grip. This is one of the deepest teachings of Buddhism. Whatever you resist persists, whatever you embrace dissolves. By letting even your pain flow, you free yourself from the cycle of suffering. As your understanding deepens, you begin to notice something profound. Everything in life is already helping you awaken. Every person you meet, every challenge you face, every joy and disappointment, they are all parts of the same lesson. Life is not happening to you, it is happening for you. It is a mirror showing you where you are still asleep, where you still cling, where you still fear. When you stop resisting these reflections, you begin to evolve effortlessly. The obstacles that once felt like punishment now feel like guidance. The world becomes your teacher, and every moment becomes sacred. To live in flow, you must also let others flow. You cannot expect people to fit your image of who they should be. The desire to change others is another form of control. When you let go of that desire, relationships transform. You begin to see people not as extensions of your will, but as souls walking their own path. You respect their timing, their choices, their evolution. Love becomes spacious. It no longer suffocates, it liberates. This is true compassion, to allow others to be as they are while remaining anchored in your own peace. When you love like this, without attachment or demand, love becomes an expression of freedom rather than need. One of the greatest paradoxes is that when you stop chasing what you want, life begins to offer it to you naturally. When you stop demanding love, you become love. When you stop chasing success, your energy aligns with success. When you stop seeking peace, peace arises. The act of surrender opens the door for grace. This is the great secret of letting life flow. You receive more by doing less. You achieve more by striving less. You transform not through effort, but through presence. Presence is the power that dissolves resistance and harmonizes all things. When you are present, life becomes your ally instead of your adversary. In this state, you begin to see synchronicities everywhere. The right people appear at the right time. Solutions arise effortlessly. Intuition guides you without confusion. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations that you are aligned with the flow. The more you trust it, the more it reveals itself. Life begins to feel magical, not because it changes its nature, but because you finally see it clearly. The same world that once seemed chaotic now feels deeply ordered. The same situations that once provoked anxiety now invite curiosity. You realize that the universe has always been whispering, but you were too busy shouting your plans to listen. Letting life flow is ultimately about remembering who you truly are. Not the mind that worries, not the body that ages, not the identity that changes, but the awareness that witnesses it all. When you rest in that awareness, nothing can truly harm you. The storms may come, but they pass. The emotions may rise, but they fade. What remains is the stillness that was always there, the eternal now. This is what the Buddha called the unborn. It is the space of consciousness before thought, before desire, before fear. It is your true home. When you live from this space, life ceases to be a struggle and becomes an unfolding miracle. There is great power in simplicity. The path to flow is not complicated. It is profoundly simple. Breathe deeply. Be present. Do one thing at a time. Listen without judgment. Rest when you are tired. Appreciate what you have. Forgive what has passed. Trust what is coming. When you live like this, you stop overcomplicating existence. You realize that the wisdom of the universe is reflected in every moment, waiting for you to slow down enough to see it. You begin to live not as a controller of life, but as its participant, dancing in perfect rhythm with its mystery. Eventually you see that there is no separate you letting life flow. Life is flowing through you and as you. The drop realizes it was never separate from the ocean. In that realization, fear disappears completely. You stop asking what the future will bring, because you know that whatever it brings will be part of the same divine movement. You trust not in outcomes, but in the flow itself, and in that trust, you find absolute freedom. So let go of the struggle. Stop trying to make life fit your plans. Stop waiting for things to be perfect before you relax. Take a breath and surrender to this moment exactly as it is. Feel the life moving through you, breathing you, guiding you. This is the flow, the eternal pulse of existence that has been carrying you since the beginning. You have never been separate from it, only distracted by the noise of the mind. The river is always flowing, always guiding, always returning you to the sea of peace that is your true nature. Let go, trust, and remember. When you allow life to flow, everything begins to go well, not because the world changes, but because you finally align with the rhythm of what is real. If these words brought clarity or calm to your heart, remember to subscribe to the channel so that you can continue walking this journey of awareness, peace, and spiritual awakening, one breath and one moment at a time. To let life flow is to enter a relationship with existence based not on fear, but on trust. And yet, this trust cannot be learned through theories or beliefs. It must be lived. It must be experienced through the quiet surrender of control, again and again, until your entire being begins to rest in the rhythm of the universe. It is not a single act of letting go, but a lifelong unfolding, a continuous invitation to return to harmony every time the mind pulls you back into resistance. The art of flowing is the art of remembering each moment that you are part of something infinitely wise and compassionate. Life is not happening against you. It is happening through you, for you, and as you. The first step toward this realization is to stop identifying with your struggles. The ego thrives on conflict. It needs problems to feel alive. If there are no problems, it invents them. It clings to the past, fears the future, and resists the present. This constant agitation gives it a false sense of purpose. But beneath all this noise, there is a silent awareness that observes everything without judgment. That awareness is your true self. It is the observer behind the thoughts, the listener behind the words, the stillness behind the movement. When you anchor yourself in that awareness, you begin to perceive life differently. You no longer react blindly to circumstances. You respond consciously from the clarity of the present. Letting life flow, therefore, begins with the courage to observe your own mind without becoming lost in it. When a thought arises, see it for what it is, just a temporary ripple in the ocean of consciousness. When an emotion arises, feel it fully, but do not let it define you. The problem is not the emotion itself, it is your attachment to it. You think, I am sad, or I am angry, as if the emotion were your identity. But the truth is, You are the space in which the sadness appears and disappears. The more you remember this, the less you are enslaved by your inner storms. Slowly, the waves calm down, and you begin to experience the natural serenity that was always there. This is why meditation is not about escaping life, but about aligning with it. When you sit in stillness, focusing on your breath, or simply observing your thoughts, you are practicing the art of non-resistance. You are learning to be present without controlling, to witness without interfering. Over time, this practice seeps into daily life. You begin to respond to challenges with equanimity instead of panic. You speak from awareness instead of reactivity. You begin to notice how often the mind tries to create drama where none exists, and you smile at it. This smiling awareness is a sign of awakening. It shows that you no longer take your thoughts as absolute truth. You see them as passing clouds, while you remain the vast sky. But to live this truth outside of meditation requires continuous awareness. It means slowing down enough to feel the texture of each moment. When you eat, taste the food with full presence. When you walk, feel the ground beneath your feet. When you listen to someone, truly listen without waiting for your turn to speak. These simple acts bring you back to the rhythm of life. You begin to notice how nature never hurries, yet everything gets done. The tree does not rush to grow. The bird does not stress about its song. They exist in effortless cooperation with existence. The same intelligence that moves them moves you. The only difference is that your mind keeps interrupting that natural flow. When you stop interrupting, you rediscover the grace of simply being. Many people misunderstand letting go as passivity. They believe that if they stop controlling, life will fall apart. But the opposite is true. Control is what disturbs the natural harmony of things. Imagine holding a handful of sand. If you squeeze it too tightly, it slips through your fingers. But if you open your hand and hold it gently, the sand remains. The same is true for life, love, and peace. When you grip them, they disappear. When you hold them lightly, they stay. The secret is not to abandon responsibility, but to act without attachment. Do what you must do, but release the expectation of results. This is what the Bhagavad Gita calls karma yoga, and Buddhism echoes it through the principle of non-attachment to outcome. The Buddha said that craving and aversion are the twin roots of suffering. You suffer not because of what happens, but because you either crave what you don't have or resist what you do. To let life flow means to break free from this duality. It means to stop chasing pleasure and running from pain, to stop labeling experiences as good or bad, and to start seeing them as waves in the same ocean. Every joy and sorrow is part of the dance of existence. When you stop trying to separate one from the other, you begin to experience a peace that transcends both. This is not indifference, it is freedom. The one who flows with life no longer clings to certainty. They understand that certainty is an illusion. The universe itself is in constant motion. Stars are born and die. Galaxies collide. Everything changes. Why should your life be any different? The need to know what will happen next is the root of anxiety. But when you learn to rest in not knowing, you discover something miraculous. The unknown is not empty. It is alive with possibility. The moment you stop fearing uncertainty, you step into the infinite. You realize that life has always carried you, even when you thought you were lost. It is in this space of trust that intuition awakens. Intuition is not a magical ability reserved for the few. It is the natural guidance that arises when your mind is silent enough to hear it. It speaks not in words, but in quiet knowing, in gentle nudges that feel right even if they make no logical sense. The more you let life flow, the more you begin to notice these subtle whispers guiding your steps. You find yourself in the right place at the right time, meeting people who bring growth, encountering challenges that refine your soul. This is the dance of synchronicity. It is the universe's way of showing you that you are aligned. When you resist life, everything feels like an uphill struggle. But when you flow, even challenges become graceful. You start to see that obstacles are not blockages, but redirections. What you thought was a detour often turns out to be the exact path you needed. The relationship that ended taught you self-worth. The job you lost opened space for your real calling. The pain you resisted became the doorway to compassion. Life, in its infinite intelligence, always knows what it is doing. Your suffering comes from insisting that it should follow your plans. When you surrender that insistence, everything begins to make sense. To live in flow also means to cultivate compassion, for yourself and for others. Compassion is the natural expression of awareness. When you are no longer trapped in your own egoic story, you begin to feel the shared essence in all beings. You see that everyone is fighting invisible battles, everyone is learning, everyone is doing their best with the consciousness they have. You stop judging and start understanding. This understanding softens you. It melts the hardness of your heart and allows love to move freely again. And when love flows, life flows. Forgiveness becomes effortless in this state. You realize that holding grudges only binds you to the past. You don't forgive because someone deserves it. You forgive because you deserve peace. Forgiveness is not an act of the intellect, but of the heart. It is the decision to stop carrying what no longer serves you. It is saying to life, I release this pain. I allow the current to take it. And when you release it, you become lighter. You begin to move again. The river of your being, once blocked by resentment, begins to run clear. Gratitude naturally follows. Gratitude is the fragrance of a mind that has stopped resisting. When you are grateful, you are acknowledging that every experience has value. Even suffering has its purpose because it opens the door to wisdom. Gratitude transforms ordinary life into sacred experience. You begin to see blessings in everything: the warmth of the sun, the sound of rain, the laughter of a friend, even the silence of solitude. Each moment becomes a gift. Gratitude keeps your heart open, and an open heart is the vessel through which the universe pours its grace. One of the most profound transformations that happens when you let life flow is that your sense of identity shifts. You stop seeing yourself as a separate individual struggling against the world. You begin to recognize yourself as life itself, pure awareness, experiencing itself through countless forms. This realization dissolves fear, because fear is always born from separation. When you see yourself in all things, what is there to fear? The flower that blooms and the leaf that falls are both expressions of the same life force. You, too, are that force. You have never been outside of it. This understanding brings a deep sense of peace, but also a new kind of responsibility, not the heavy responsibility of control, but the sacred responsibility of presence. You realize that your vibration affects everything around you. A calm mind brings calmness to others. A peaceful heart spreads peace without effort. This is the true way of transformation, not through preaching or forcing, but through being. When you are aligned with the flow, your very presence becomes healing. You don't need to convince anyone of anything. The energy of your being does the work. Living in flow also changes your relationship with time. You stop rushing from one thing to another, chasing future happiness. You realize that the present moment is all there has ever been. The future is only imagination. The past is only memory. Both exist only as thoughts now. When you dwell in the present, you step out of time. You begin to experience eternity, not as endless duration, but as depth. The moment becomes infinite. A simple breath, when observed fully, contains the universe. This is the essence of Buddhist mindfulness, to inhabit the now so completely that nothing is missing. Eventually, this awareness becomes so natural that it no longer feels like practice. It becomes your way of being. You wake up each day not to control life, but to dance with it. You listen more, you speak less, you observe before you act. You trust your intuition more than your fear. You see beauty where others see problems. You live lightly without the heavy burden of needing to prove yourself. You no longer rush toward the future or regret the past. You flow with the current of the moment, knowing that it always leads exactly where you need to go. And when difficulties arise, as they inevitably will, you meet them with compassion instead of resistance. You no longer ask, "Why is this happening to me?" but rather, "What is this trying to teach me?" This simple change in perspective transforms suffering into wisdom. You stop seeing pain as punishment and start seeing it as purification. Every challenge becomes a sacred initiation, a call to deepen your surrender. In this way, life becomes not something to endure, but something to learn from. You begin to love even the difficult moments, because you see how they refine you, how they bring you closer to your essence. At this stage, joy becomes your natural state, not because everything goes your way, but because you are no longer dependent on circumstances. Your joy flows from within, like a quiet river that nothing can disturb. You become a witness to life's play, participating fully, but without being consumed by it. This inner joy is unshakable because it is not built on temporary things. It arises from the timeless awareness of being itself. The Buddha called this state nibbana, the extinction of grasping and aversion, the peace beyond all opposites. To reach this peace, you do not need to escape the world. You do not need to become a monk or live in solitude. You simply need to live each moment with awareness and trust. Let life be your meditation. Let every interaction be your prayer. Let every breath remind you that you are alive in this vast, mysterious universe. There is no greater miracle than that. When you live like this, every experience, joyful or painful, becomes sacred. You begin to see God, or the divine, not as something distant, but as the very pulse of life moving through you. In the end, to let life flow is to return home, to the simplicity, the silence, the stillness that was always within you. The journey was never about becoming something. It was about remembering what you already are. You are the witness behind every thought, the stillness behind every movement, the peace behind every storm. When you rest in that awareness, you no longer need to force life. You allow it, you trust it, you become it. And as you do, you discover that everything truly begins to go well, not because life obeys your will, but because your will has merged with life itself. If you have found truth or comfort in these words, and you wish to continue walking the path of peace, presence, and awakening, remember to subscribe to the channel so that we may continue this journey together, exploring the art of letting life flow and discovering again and again the infinite beauty hidden in this very moment.